Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and first things first, right off the top, I just want to say my heart goes out to all the different victims and their families in the city of New Orleans who on New Year's Day suffered a horrific terror attack upon them, and we're going to talk about the facts of that particular case as they are right now. I'm shooting on January 2nd of this year, but we're also going to talk about the new reporting on a connection between those attacks and the attempted attack or successful attack, because something did blow up, of the Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower or in front of the Trump casino or whatever in Las Vegas, because it turns out that the initial reporting on both of these cases was super sketchy and all over the place and wrong, and I think we need to explain all the things that we know as of right now, but I want to give the caveat for everybody out there in the audience that information is coming in, so we do expect some things to be wrong initially, so let's not go too harsh on the normal things that got wrong. However, we have to go harsh on all the different various things that were just deliberately misstated and misreported by agents of the federal government and, of course, by the mainstream media. But before we get into that, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So let us start with New Orleans, because this was unfortunately the more effective attack. Reportedly, between 14 and 15 people have been confirmed to have died. Initially, that was 10, but apparently some of the injured ended up passing away. And there was a lot of heartbreaking videos from people that ended up suffering from this attack. But one that really got to me was of a younger man talking about how he believed him and his friends had gotten away, but in reality, he realized that him and one of his friends had gotten away. Another one was actually struck by this vehicle who did not manage to get into cover in time. So let me play a clip of that interview so you can understand the pain that people experience on the ground, because while we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the perpetrators, remember, the victims are real people. They lost family members, they lost friends, they suffered from this, and this is going to impact them for the rest of their lives.
He's coming up all onto the sidewalk and all that, but by that time we had already made it inside the divot, or is what I thought. Until once we get inside the divot and the car passes, I turn around to look who's all in here, because it was supposed to be 3 of us. I turn around to look who's all in here, and I don't see my friend. And I just start screaming and yelling, and I'm like, nah, where are you? And I turn and I look in the street, and her right leg is flipped like horror movie style over her back, and it's just blood.
Again, this kind of thing is devastating, and you could just hear the pain in this person's voice when he's describing what happened to his friend in horrific, grisly detail. So yeah, 14 people ended up being killed. There may be additions to the death count. I've seen a lot of headlines that say 15 people are confirmed dead, but then in the article like this one that I'm citing, it says 14 in the facts. So I just don't want to have everything wrong or let you know that there's information that is not confirmed yet, so stuff may be wrong in this video. But the suspect behind this was a 42-year-old man who, of course, is being described by the mainstream media as your average run-of-the-mill Texas man, an American citizen Texas, even though his name is Shamsud Din Jabbar, age 42, and witnesses told us very early on that this person was flying an ISIS flag behind their vehicle, and in fact, the flag fell off and people were taking photos of it, so it was known very early on what exactly inspired this attack, despite the fact that we had a representative from the FBI say that this is actually not terrorism right off the bat, which is just ridiculous, and we're sick of this nonsensical gaslighting.
Kirkpatrick said we'll be taking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if this is a viable device or not. As Chief Kirkpatrick said, we're asking everyone to stay away from Bourbon Street, specifically from Canal Street to St. Anne. That is my ask. Once again, stay away from Bourbon Street, Canal Street, all the way to St. Anne, until we can figure out what is going on. Our goal is to provide you additional information at the 11 a.m. press conference.
Now, much like Rayshard Brooks, this was also described as a truck attack, just a fully automatic truck going crazy and attacking people. What are we going to do about trucks on the street? Even though, again, we all understood that there was a high likelihood this was terrorism and a high likelihood this was a form of Islamic terrorism, because this is something that we've seen in Europe multiple different times. And unfortunately, there was some reporting early on that we ended up seeing the city of New Orleans, probably for aesthetic reasons, removing the barriers that prevent cars from doing this very thing in that city back in November, and that appears to have increased the carnage that was experienced by people in the city of New Orleans. Hey guys, editing Sean here. Well, it turns out the barriers were in fact removed in November, as I just told you. However, it wasn't done because they were trying to clean up the perception and mitigate people's sense that something like this could happen. They were actually done because New Orleans is hosting the Super Bowl in a month, and in reality, what they needed to do was remove and replace these barriers. So again, information coming in, fact checks coming in from me in the editing bay, because I'm really trying not to stoke the flames of conspiracy theory. But in addition to that attack, we also had the reports of a Tesla Cybertruck blowing up. Again, a truck blowing up just randomly outside of a Trump building in Las Vegas. Now, initially, of course, the press decided to push the notion, because Tesla bad, Elon Musk bad, that this was just a battery malfunctioning, and you know them Teslas, they're ultra dangerous, and they wanted to, smear Elon Musk in addition to saying that this was no big deal and completely unconnected, despite the fact that obviously it is very odd for a Tesla Cybertruck to explode in such a big way. And in addition to that, it happened right in front of a Trump building. And in addition to that, it happened on the same day as the New Orleans one. Now, of course, I do want to make something 100% clear for everybody out there in the audience. That last thing that I said about the same day, we have a country of 300 million people. There are plenty of things that occur on the same day that aren't connected. But later on, information started to trickle out that the same rental service, again, this could have been a coincidence, was used to rent both vehicles that were used in both attacks. We also got the video that showed us, obviously, that the vehicle, the Tesla, was filled with explosive ordinances, and it appeared that the driver was inside. So we have two different instances. One looks more political than the other one, and in addition to that, we also have a driver inside, possibly a suicide attack, so it seemed like the likelihood of there being a connection increased as we were going through this particular story. Well, then we end up finding out that both of these men actually lived on the same military base, and while we still don't know right now at this moment whether they knew each other, it seems like both of them engaging in a terrorist attack on the same day in different parts of the country involving rented vehicles increase the likelihood of that. And now the FBI has changed this from being an event, a truck attack that has no ties to terrorism despite the ISIS flag that was isolated after they said it was a terrorist attack, to now these are people that are not working alone, and we might have a situation where people have been radicalized and now they're starting off with these two attacks, which I hope are just two isolated incidents.
New this morning, investigators say a man with ties to Colorado Springs was behind the wheel when that Tesla Cybertruck exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Matthew Livelsberger was killed in that blast. 7 other people were hurt. Overnight, federal investigators were searching a home in the Springs tied to the suspect.
We are also learning about connections between Livelsberger and the man accused of driving down Bourbon Street in New Orleans, purposely hitting people and firing shots into the crowd. Both men were Army veterans, and sources tell Denver 7 investigates that both men served at the same military base at some point.
This morning, we have team coverage starting with Natalie Chuck in Colorado Springs. And Natalie, both men also rented trucks from the attacks from the service called Turo.
So a couple of things I think are incredibly important about this takeaway, about this revelation, that these two guys were at the main military base, and I want to go through them in order from importance. First and foremost, Natalie Chuck, attractive woman for the local news for Denver.
That's right. Good morning, Nicole and Anusha. Right now, we are coming off of a pretty uneventful evening here at what is believed to be the apartment complex belonging to that driver.
I know. You guys get mad when I do that, but we're just having fun a little bit with a dark story. But in this particular instance, I do want to point out the one that they're covering with the Colorado man who ended up being in the Tesla that blew himself up. It turns out he took his own life, and it appears that all the different media outlets that were talking about the Teslas just blowing up and being inherently dangerous, in reality, the Tesla Cybertruck appears to have shielded most of the outside people from the blast, and that's why we're hearing reports of injuries, and those injuries could be as minimal as some ear pain in association with the explosion, like the sound of the explosion. So in that particular case, the car that was rented, that was meant to be detonated in front of the Trump Vegas building, likely ended up being the undoing of that particular person. And when you really think about it, had the vehicles been reversed and the pickup truck been the one that had all that stuff that was in it, all that stuff that was ready to be detonated, then we could have had just as destructive, if not a more destructive attack in New Orleans with the Cybertruck, because Teslas have incredibly fast acceleration due to the fact that they're electric cars and you don't have to wait for the combustion of the engine. And if you're in a flatbed, that explosion could have been much more devastating and hurt a lot more people. So things could have been worse with a few changes in the situation that these guys had set up. So I'm going to be happy about the results of this. And obviously the guy who took his own life before the explosion, he should have just taken his own life and not tried to hurt additional people if that's what he was going to do. Obviously I don't root for people to do self-harm, but the fact of the matter is, stop with the harming of others. Honestly, just take care of yourself, not other people, not targeting other people. Don't hurt other people. And again, it's really troubling that military trained people that we train theoretically to fight terrorist organizations, appear to be embracing terrorist tactics. And by the way, the guy in the Tesla instance that may or may not be connected to the ISIS-inspired attack doesn't appear to have an Islamic background. He looks like the most white guy to ever white guy, which also is very troubling if we're talking about even these people getting radicalized by ISIS propaganda.
Of the Cybertruck that exploded in Las Vegas, but now we are seeing some activity. We were all just asked to leave the area and move down the hill a couple of blocks. You can see law enforcement behind me actively blocking off Autumn Knoll Drive right behind us. A couple of blocks up and to the left is where that complex is that they are looking at. Originally, law enforcement just had a single set of units blocked off, but now, as you can see, it is that whole entire neighborhood. People are beginning to wake up as the sun starts to come up, people walking their dogs, and this is what they are waking up to on the second day of 2025. Now, I want to give you a look at how far that Cybertruck traveled. One possible route from the address here in Colorado Springs to the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas can be seen on your screen. That's more than 800 miles. It's about a 12-hour drive. I did speak with a neighbor here who says she never noticed a Cybertruck in the area. She says it's something that typically would stick out. And again, like you mentioned earlier, those trucks, both this truck, this Cybertruck, and the truck involved in the New Orleans attack are believed to have been rented from an app called Turo that is used to rent out personal cars.
So look, the local news reporting that we're getting as of right now was released only a couple of hours before I'm shooting this video, and I'm sure there's more up-to-date information, and I will be looking through it throughout the editing process to refresh you on anything and everything that comes up that contradicts the facts in this particular video. But I want you guys, again, to understand that the facts are evolving. The information is coming out slowly, so obviously we're going to have changes on specific particular things. So if there's some things that are wrong in this video, I tried to wait the extra day to get more information. Don't kill me too much on it, but I do find it interesting that nobody in this particular area seems to have noted a Cybertruck there, and that if this person did rent and leave from Colorado Springs, it would have taken 800 plus miles, because this means that this person likely had to go through all these different Tesla charging stations in order to make the journey, because the maximum range of what I believe is the triple motor Cybertruck is in and around a little bit over 300 miles on a single charge. But it is far more likely, although this information has yet to be revealed, that this particular Cybertruck was a model that had less motors, so it had less of a range, and in addition to that, the battery performance on a Tesla can vary based on the temperature, based on whether or not it's above or below 60 degrees. So we might have bare minimum 3 to 4, but even upwards of 5 stops at different various charging stations that likely have surveillance video that can give us an idea of what this person was doing along the way, and we should wait on that information before we make any claims or make any firm assertions. We can make all the claims that we want or all the guesses that we want, but again, it is an ongoing developing situation. Now, of course, in Bourbon Street back in New Orleans, apparently they did open up that particular street, and that was described as uneventful, and I do believe that's a good thing. It is important for people to go back to these places that are impacted by terrorism and basically say, we're not going to stand for that, we're not going to be terrorized. But the fact of the matter is, this is something that the American people haven't really had to deal with. Obviously, we've had terrorist attacks, a very famous one in New York City in 2001, but this is something that we haven't had to deal with in terms of the truck attacks because these feel more like European style actions. But again, it is a very troubling sign right at the start of the new year that these things have occurred. Obviously, there was a political motivation or something behind the Tesla being specifically used in front of the Trump thing. And of course, the mainstream media has been absolutely horrible in describing this, talking about how a renegade truck just started attacking people in the city of New Orleans, not mentioning the Islamic terror motivation, and then describing the Cybertruck over in Vegas as just a malfunction of the Cybertruck. Gosh, isn't Elon Musk scum? Let's take this opportunity in order to drive down the price of Tesla stock because we hate Elon Musk for buying Twitter. But yeah, this is where we're at as of right now. Again, as more information comes in, you will have certain facts in this video changing. Try not to jump to crazy conspiracies, but it appears in this particular instance, we do have the makings, or at least some information to indicate a conspiracy, because both of these people appear to be connected as of right now, and they attacked on the same day, and it seems like a lot of coincidences. Hey guys, editing Sean here once again, and I need to make something 100% clear for everybody out there in the audience. During the course of filming this video, I actually believe that the military base connection was far more firm because, again, the initial reporting was not 100% clear on this, but it turns out as of right now, they both did serve at Fort Bragg, which I believe was renamed something else after George Floyd. However, there is no indication at all whatsoever that they served at the same time. So this actually is likely more of a coincidence now with that additional information, because all of a sudden the connections are really just that loose. And it could be the reason why they use this Turo app, which is essentially Airbnb for vehicles, is because that, for whatever reason, is the most convenient or popular thing in their respective geographic areas in order to obtain the specific vehicles that they were looking for these instances. And this could be easily proven to be true, because if you've ever rented a car, you'll select something or the equivalent of that thing, and chances are you don't actually get the specific model that you're looking for, and you get something in a different class. And I guess when you're looking for a Tesla Cybertruck, specifically in the Vegas incident, you want a Tesla Cybertruck. That being said, it is clearly and obviously possibly a suitable alternative to get any other pickup truck besides the Ford one used. But again, these coincidences actually seem more coincidental as time goes on. So I've actually edited out some more speculative pieces of information from this video because facts are continuing to come in. Remember that anybody who asserts anything harsh to the affirmative without all the information should be taken with a grain of salt. And included in the people that should be taken with some degree of a grain of salt are me, specifically, because I was wrong-headed in certain parts of this video when I was initially shooting. I happened to catch it during editing, but I'm sure more and more information will come out between this point in time and publishing this video that will also contradict other things. So again, wait for the facts, double check the facts, triple check the facts. If it's leaning in a direction you're already predisposed to believe, then guess what? quadruple check those facts. Now, of course, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Obviously, if there's a way to help the victims specifically of the New Orleans attack, then please go out and do so. Show that generosity to these people because it's a devastating circumstance. And remember, while there are a bunch of families and a bunch of friend groups that are ripped apart by these deaths, there are also people that are suffering injuries to varying degrees that are forever going to have their lives altered. There's also people dealing with trauma associated with witnessing this, with narrowly escaping this, and those wounds are also going to take a long time to heal. But again, everybody out there, please stay safe. Please keep your attention up. Keep track of your friends. Hug your loved ones. It's absolutely horrible. And yes, the media is going to be terrible in reporting this. And hopefully this isn't an indication of things to come going forward. Also, one final note. Try not to get on board with people who immediately try to use this to promote their own political agenda. I saw Candace Owens talking about how this was going to be used in order to attack Iran or whatever. And in reality, obviously, Iran is an enemy nation to the United States of America. And there are people who have been pushing war with Iran for a very long time. But there's also a bunch of people in the media that never get held accountable. And I'm using Candace as an example, but honestly, this goes back 20 years. For saying that this instance is going to lead to war with Iran and they're just trying to drag us there. But in reality, they've been wrong for nearly 25 years. Again, people have been calling war with Iran for a quarter of a century, been wrong each and every time, and there's no consequences for that. So please cut the dramatics, cut the ridiculousness. Let's focus on the victims. Let's focus on the actual issues with this attack. And remember, for those of you who are unaware, ISIS is a Sunni terror organization and Iran is Shia. So nobody's making this connection except for idiots online that are trying to gin up the conspiracy notions in order to generate more clicks. And to me, this is a horrible thing to do when the bodies aren't even cold yet. But again, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the New Year's Day attacks. Till next time.